I think spotlighting people like Dominic, it's really what this show is about and has always been about.
Yes, and time spent on this show has changed lives forever. So take a look.
Keep all glory flying high, from sea to shining sea. That's rather appropriate to these times, isn't it?
People you grow up idolizing. I mean, you know, I get to do the last interview with Jack Buck, and that was amazing. And all we talked about was poetry.
Jack's poetry and patriotism exploded together last Monday night, the return of baseball following that Tuesday of terror.
We have been challenged by a cowardly foe who strikes and then hides from our view. With one voice we say, we have no choice today.
Tears would equal the cheers at Busch Stadium. Jack himself was overwhelmed by this great American moment.
Usually if you show me a good card trick, I'll cry. If you tell me right now, I'll cry. I can cry on cue. But
That was amazing. He told me come by the stadium after the game and we'll sit down and talk about my poetry book.
Really?
Oh yeah, if you really would.
Well, it's the most important right now before my life ends. And I'm 77 years old. That's not in the poem. Is to try to be kind and earn some new friends, which is really my mission in life. I think it always has been. Some say you're going to live again. I don't know how that could be. But if that is true, I want to come back as me.
That story and that hour and a half in the booth with Jack is truly one of my greatest highlights. You know, grew up listening to this guy. He was your, broadcasting idol. And to hear his passion for poetry and the great work he did with the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, it humbled you to realize that this icon of sportscasting had such a caring, unbelievable heart, not only for cystic fibrosis, but for this community and for the people in it, and that he gave so much of himself, even through poetry, to this community. It's just, again, one of those broadcasting highlights I'll never forget.
What story has stood out to me the most has to be my dear friend Al.
Hi, Bertha.
Oh, hi, Al. How are you?
Fine, and you?
It was a story that seemed really simple at first. There was a 95-year-old man that would bike around his neighborhood every single day. And I just loved the fact that he was 95 and he was biking every day.
Her name is Caroline, and she has a dog, Tucker. That dog just loves me.
Al had a really tough health diagnosis.
With your illness, you've got 10 years to live. Now, this is 30 years later, and I'm still living.
Al was diagnosed with scleroderma, now beating the odds at 95 years old. And, well, still biking.
He still had this joy to him, and he still had this desire for life. He had told his daughter, I just want to be able to see what my granddaughter grows up to be, and that was a big part of his motivation.
I know I adopted my daughter when she was 2. She's 23 now. And when I got her, he said, I'm going to live long enough to see what she becomes. And he has.
And you would not know the health journey that he was on and the struggles that he had because he just radiated joy. I think it stood out to me the most because I just hope to be like Al one day.
I've gotten to tell so many stories that I've always dreamed of telling. I've always been fascinated with St. Louis history, St. Louis culture, and I always wanted to tell the story of Wednesday lunches at St. Raymond's.
The original Lebanese families that arrived in St. Louis converted a 4-family flat at 931 LaSalle Street into their church in 1912. In 1976, that flat transformed into what you see today at 931 Lebanon Drive.
My Thaita, my grandmother, was one of the original women that started the kitchen at that church and helped bring a priest to St. Louis so that they could save that church.
The church went without a permanent priest for 23 years. No one thought the church would survive, but it did, because of 15 women in the church's Ladies' Society.
And they kept it going the only way they knew how. They cooked and sold their food. Look at what we have now. I'm sure those old ladies never dreamt of anything like this.
I've always wanted to tell that story. So from St. Raymond's to Soulard Mardi Gras, I sat down with the last living founder of Soulard Mardi Gras. St. Louis has so many stories, and it's been an honor to be able to share them with you.
What happened in those studios and on the streets telling the stories of the St. Louis people, particularly the kids.
I did manage to find. Do you
Mom,
want to make a trade?
I fell in love with children on Show Me St. Louis. So much, in fact. I met my husband in St. Louis, followed him to Pittsburgh, and we had 5 sons. And I credit that to my time working on Show Me St. Louis. Full stop.
Incredible. Okay, tell me about that. What was it about this show and about kids? Why did it really change your perspective?
The whole idea of it back in 1995 was legendary. Capture an audience of people who are home in the afternoon, who want to know about their city, want to know about cool things to do with their children, whether they be stay-at-home moms or dads, and then go to all of these wonderful places, tell the story of St. Louis through its history, go into the art museum and the history museum and the Fox Theater. I got to do extraordinary things. But there was nothing more extraordinary than becoming recognizable to children in the city of St. Louis. So much, in fact, that whenever we were live somewhere, literally kids would come over into my live shot and be all around me in my live shot. And my heart was full. Like I'd never felt complete. And it had nothing to do with television, but it had everything to do with being able to chronicle the joy of children in exploring their city. And I fell in love.